Happy New Year's Eve, basketball sickos. Juice Mason, Morgan Reagan with you. And people have demanded that we do more basketball content.
Demanded. Threatened, actually.
Which, that's fine with us. Tonight, we watch OKC, Minnesota. The Thunder have now won 12 in a row. They beat Minnesota in this game 113-105. Where do we start tonight? Well, OKC gets off to this slow start. They're missing shots. You're like, okay, what's it going to look like in the second half? The end of the third quarter tonight by Oklahoma City from SGA taking over. He had 19 of his 40 points in that third quarter.
Oh, geez.
The defensive intensity you saw was outrageous. That third quarter stretch by Oklahoma City, I think, was probably the best stretch of basketball I have witnessed this year in the NBA.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're gonna pull that line, then please proceed. Tell me why.
They're just so together,
yeah.
You know. And Oklahoma City, of course, are number one. So, hey, great take. You're saying OKC's good, but like I think,
thank you.
You do not hear enough about them at this point. Even though they're this good and defensively, you know, they're the number one defensive rated team in the league.
Sure.
They're number one in deflections, about 22 a night. Tonight they had 16 steals. And, you know, I was looking at this matchup early on going, man, you know, Minnesota's got the size advantage, right? You got Randall, you got Gobert, you got Naz Reid. They've got some good length. Like, could that be problematic? You know, it's just not with Oklahoma City's buy-in. Mark Daigneault has that group just locked in defensively, how they rotate, how they pressure the ball. They are just relentless.
But you referenced the third quarter and when, you know, you really got to witness a lot of everything that you're saying. But what I truly feel like, even throughout most of the game, this is what you're seeing as part of their identity. And I say relentless being part of their identity because every single 50-50 ball, whether it's like flying out of bounds or it's on the floor or wherever, and they're diving, they're going, they find a way to get it. And I think even if they have a slower start in the first or don't set the tone right away, what makes them such a good team, obviously, when you look at their record and they're finding ways to get wins, but it's how they turn it on and get a win at the end of the game. Even when it got into within 4, I believe, and then SGA went to the line, missed a free throw, made one. It became a 5-point game again. You know, I'm, as a basketball fan and someone that obviously covers the Sacramento Kings all the time, like, I'm worried as shit. I'm like, oh man, how are you going to do this one? You know, can Ant just go off and Nas maybe, you know, like knock down a three? He's such a quick release at times, even when he's flat-footed. It's wild. But really, you just feel this sense of confidence and control from OKC every single time. You mentioned the deflections. You look at the 16 steals, the activity on the defensive end, and what that allows them to do to anticipate a pass, or even on this last one, on one of the last steals, Williams was on Naz Reid, but then timed it out perfectly and swooped the ball away and then had a wide open jam on the other end. You know, and I just... They're look so fun to watch.
They look like they're on a string right now.
Yes.
I mean, and just
good
the whole season. I think the consistency is what, to me, is mind-blowing for sure. Because it's not like they haven't had injuries this year. Like, Chet's played 10 games. Caruso's been in and out of the lineup. They just got the other Jalen Williams back in the fold, too.
Hartenstein was out for a little bit.
Hartenstein, yeah. And what a pickup he's been. Dude, let's talk about Hartenstein for a second.
Deuce is like here, and then he's like, no, let's talk about a 7-footer.
What a pickup.
Knows how to pass the ball amazingly.
And look, what he was able to do with the Knicks.
Sure.
I'm not totally surprised, but I think it's exactly what this team needed. Like, when you watch OKC last year, like, you liked them. They had a hell of a year. Chet did some amazing things, but you're like, they need some girth up front.
Yep.
They need some size up front. And that's the thing. Isaiah Hartenstein gives you everything you want from like a rim protection standpoint and a toughness standpoint, but then he has the ability to get the ball at the top of the key and just drop dimes.
Well, it's fun. Passing big is fun to watch, but it's fun for a team. Having that confidence with him on the offensive end and knowing, okay, if I'm going to be a willing cutter, if I'm going to relocate with him to a corner, he's going to find me. But then on the defensive end, you just mentioned it, having a big like that in the middle. So even if for some reason your defense in that first line doesn't have what it takes to stop Ant, you're going to have a little bit more confidence with the second line of defense and him protecting the rim. And you're exactly right. Him being that pickup, what we've seen, obviously from them. But I love that we keep talking about OKC, their togetherness. We go to Hartenstein, we go to injuries, and we haven't even talked about SGA tonight and his amazing performance.
He was incredible. And by the way, Hartenstein, 15 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. Let's get to SGA. That stretch in the third quarter, and it was perfect OKC basketball because it was the defense leading to the offense. But SGA's ability to consistently score at all 3 levels during that stretch.
Anywhere.
I mean, dude, the play he had on Naz Reid.
Oh, the one where he basically found a way to get inside and angle himself at the end to finish at the basket. I mean, trying to get someone else on skates.
He got Dante DiVincenzo.
That's who he got.
He hit a big 3 that was nasty, a step back 3.
Well, and then he even had a baseline jumper. I think it was Naz Reid that had come out on him. And it was just this nice little baseline jumper. You talk about his scoring ability everywhere on the floor. But then even being able to make a mistake, like when he was trying to lob it up to Williams at the basket, and Williams was like, no, I got you back out. And he's just open for 3 and knocks it down. It's incredible what he's doing. It's so fun to watch as an NBA fan.
And there are some nights, I got to be honest,
Oh,
he's not my favorite to watch because it's like,
sells.
yeah, gets the free throw line. Now, I will fully acknowledge if I was a Thunder fan, big dude, you got to.
It's part of the game.
That's part of the game, man. That's what he does. But tonight, it didn't feel like that type of game for him. He was 7 of 9 at the free throw line. He had 40 points in this game. He started this game, I believe, 13 of 17 shooting, ends up 15 of 23. So cool down a little bit. But 40 points for him. Over the last 5 games, I think he's got 3 40-plus games. He's averaging 36 points per game over that stretch. And he's in the MVP conversation for sure. I think right now there's so much talk about Jokic because of the numbers and the outrageous performances he has, what Giannis continues to do as one of the best guys in the league. SGA's been in the mix. He was in the mix last year, and you just see what Oklahoma City is doing, and you do wonder as this season continues if, maybe we're overthinking it. He is so valuable to what they do. He is the guy on that team, and they're winning at an unbelievably high rate.
And I keep holding up the 4 because the 4 steals as well. I had to get that in there because, obviously we know what he can do defensively, but just seeing on that stat line tonight with the 40-point game.
The 16 steals. You had 4, SGA had 4, Case and Wallace, who, all right, I didn't even realize Case and Wallace was 1 of 8 tonight. 0 for 4 from 3. Case and Wallace, I don't give a shit what that box score says. That guy had a great game
7
today.
assists, too.
He was everywhere, and that's Oklahoma City's defense, running guys off the line. The help is always there. The rotations are always there. The communication, the hands, the deflections. It's just winning basketball,
the urgency.
Right? So he had 4 steals as well. Jalen Williams had 3.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like you said, even if you look down the stat line, but then you're actually watching the whole game and you're seeing how they're making an impact play after play after play. And going back to even your conversation, whether it's the MVP conversation or if you want to go more into the Western Conference conversation where OKC stands obviously at the top, but at the same time, how they play, just looking at their style of play, looking at their identity and how it can translate into being serious Western Conference contender.
Well, you just think about the last couple of years, and I'm big on the fact that teams have to go through the growing pains of the playoffs, and you have to learn lessons. And last year,
Need it.
Jalen Williams didn't play well in that second round series. Okay, it's a young team; you got to figure it out. They improved their roster. You had Hartenstein, you had Caruso. SGA's better. Jalen Williams is better. All their guys, their young guys are better too.
Yeah.
And it's just the cohesiveness. And so, who's even close to them, honestly, in the West right now? Memphis and Houston are behind them. Dallas is in the mix, but I just don't think it's close.
Because even when you see them in some of their off moments, I mean, they're 5 losses, so they've had, if you want to call those 5 off games or whatever. But I remember watching them, forget who the hell they were playing, but it just looked like, it is all over in the third. And they just always fight back because they it's like they're playing with so much joy out
Yeah,
there
yeah.
that they don't let certain things just get them down. And for being a younger team to have that mentality, that's a winning mentality. That's a mentality that can carry them past so many different teams in this Western Conference, especially every time when you look in the West and you see bodies down or you see just teams that you were expecting to be better that aren't. It's they have a very good chance.
We talk a lot about it with the Kings, right? Because the Kings aren't a good 3-point shooting team. Oklahoma City percentage-wise, if you look at them right now in the league, 3-point percentage, they are 20th.
Okay.
All right. Sacramento's 24th. And my point being is,
I love this point
you
already.
can get away with not being able to knock down threes efficiently all the time when you have literally everybody in your lineup willing to sacrifice and play defense, and you would just have that personnel. They're just flying everywhere. I mean, the job they did on Anthony Edwards tonight.
Oh my God!
Ant took 12 shots. Why? Because they were just
they're throwing two bodies at him,
and this is what it is. It's you're throwing two guys at him. You're throwing different guys at him. I mean, I'm even watching Dante DiVincenzo at one point in this game. It's like, all right, he gets Case and Wallace off of him, and Lou Dort's on him.
Yeah.
There's no real easy matchup that you can target and expose with Oklahoma City at this point. And now it'll be interesting to see what they do going forward, how they tweak things. Do they try to make another move? There's been some talk. Maybe they have interest in Cam Johnson. They still have the pieces and the draft stock to make something happen if they want to.
Well, and that's what because you don't want to screw too much with your good energy, what you have. I mean, you think about what they do after every single game that they win, and they go into their interview and they're all together. The togetherness, the vibes. It's how do you find a way to make the tweak without screwing with that? Sam Presti has a lot of thinking to do, but hey, he's also seen a lot of success and has a lot of freedom to do what he needs to do.
Okay, before I go to Minnesota, one last OKC note, and I guess this applies to Cleveland too, probably more so Cleveland. It's something I know we hit on the podcast a little bit last night, but if the league's national broadcast partners, ESPN, TNT, I feel like they have to do a better job talking about these teams. Oklahoma City is clearly the best team in the West right now, and they don't get talked enough about around the league. Why is that?
The individual does, SGA does.
Yeah, but the collective group,
and I'm so with you, because if you love basketball and you love the sport, it's a team sport, and it makes it even more beautiful when you're watching a team succeed, even if there is a star player. Go like we were just talking about the Western Conference. Go to Denver, go to Nikola Jokic, and you think about the insane basketball that he can play as an individual. And at times the team has been up and down this season. When they find their groove, you take a step back and you go, okay, maybe it can work if you just have this one great player making everyone better. But truly, this OKC roster and the amount of talent on it that make each other better and make the product is just so fun to watch. Yeah, it should be talked about more.
So they win 113-105. On the other side, Minnesota, we mentioned Ant. He just took 12 shots in this one. He had 20 points on 6 of 12 shooting. Minnesota drops to 17-15. They came into tonight's game on a 3-game win streak. They've been very up and down this year, up and down, and a team with high expectations after making it to the conference finals last year. I don't know, man.
I already know where you're going to go with the I don't know, because
if OKC is together, this Minnesota team is not together. And some of it is they've got some new pieces involved. And Randall's going to complicate things, even if he's talented. Dante DiVincenzo, too. You're trying to mold this together. There's expectations. There's pressure. I don't know, man. I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment, but you're like, dude, why didn't you just run it back one more year with Cat?
Thank you.
And I know everyone's like, well, you got to look at the salary cap ramifications.
Rich people be rich, man.
You could have figured it out one more year and run it back with this group.
Yeah.
And now they're in a spot where I'm like, well, what's the tweak they make? Or do they just go, hey, we're rolling with this? And we were committed to the Gobert Cat thing, and when everyone was saying it was shit, we stuck with it. Ant came into the fold and grew into what he is now. And look, we turned into a competitive team, but it just it feels so much different. They're still inconsistent offensively. Defensively, it's up and down.
You made the tweak the organization made the tweak thinking, hey, we can still be good enough, but really the style and what you had going on with the two bigs, a style that I truly did not think was going to ever work, especially in today's NBA, but how Cat just became more and more dominant, stretching
and
the
he's
floor.
killing it this year.
And he's still being able to do that. And then obviously Rudy Gobert just being able to play that role and not have to do too much on the offensive end or anything else, just protecting the rim and being there as a lob threat, whatever. It's not the same. And not to say that it's like super clunky. It's more like it's new still.
Yeah.
Even this long into the season, it's still new for these guys and it's not meshing the same. I kind of, there's these times when watching them where I'm like, oh, this is what they are. And I still think they are a good team. Like they're not a bad team. Not just because you look at them on paper or the roster and you go, oh yeah, no, they're not a bad team. No, I really feel like at times when they are playing together, like you just said, coming into this game, winning. I know it's just inconsistent, but when it's there, you're like, you saw this team.
Their expectations aren't to just be what they are right now, which is like pretty average at 17 and 15. So I'm fascinated to see what they do going forward. You would think Tim Connolly's going to be aggressive and going, okay. I mean, hell, he traded Cat like right before camp.
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
Anyway, let us know what you guys think about OKC. Do you buy them as like the championship favorites or Western Conference favorites? Where do you put them? Or do you still think like they need another move? And what does Minnesota need to do? Let us know in the comments below. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe.
Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. The